A newly released collection of highly classified documents related to the 1963 assassination of President John F. Kennedy has prompted experts to sift through thousands of pages in search of new insights while also sending Donald Trump's staff into a frenzy. On Tuesday evening, the National Archives published 2,182 PDF files, amounting to 63,400 pages, more than 60 years after Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas. The documents contain typewritten reports and handwritten notes spanning multiple decades, touching on topics such as a high-ranking CIA agent's claim that a secretive government faction was behind the assassination, doubts about Lee Harvey Oswald's marksmanship, and warnings received by the Secret Service months before Kennedy's murder. The sudden release caught Trump's national security team off guard, leaving them scrambling for 24 hours to evaluate potential security risks before the files became publicly accessible. When the documents were made available around 7 p.m., reactions were mixed. Some critics from liberal circles dismissed the release as redundant, arguing it was similar to a prior document dump during Joe Biden's administration. Conversely, Trump supporters were frustrated that many sections remained redacted, leaving lingering questions about the event. Experts reviewing the files have described them as complex and difficult to navigate. Despite the excitement surrounding the disclosure, researchers warned that the information may not significantly alter the long-established understanding of Kennedy's assassination. Many of the documents lack context, sources, or annotations indicating their credibility or relevance to the case. Nonetheless, the release represents Trump's fulfillment of a campaign pledge to make all JFK-related files public, a promise dating back to his first presidential term. Among the notable revelations, one document references a 1967 article from the leftist magazine Ramparts, which detailed an intelligence agent named John Garrett Underhill Jr. The passage states that Underhill fled Washington, D.C. the day after the assassination and confided in a friend that a small group within the CIA was responsible for Kennedy's death. Underhill allegedly feared for his life and contemplated fleeing the country. However, 6 months later, he was found dead in his Washington apartment from an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. While the passage resurfaced among conservative commentators on social media, critics pointed out that this information had been public knowledge for decades. Another document gaining traction among Trump's supporters concerns Lee Harvey Oswald. One of the files claims that the Soviet intelligence agency, the KGB, closely monitored Oswald during his stay in the USSR. However, reports also indicate that Oswald performed poorly in marksmanship exercises while in Russia, adding to long-standing debates about his ability to carry out the assassination alone. Additionally, newly released documents include a letter from 1978 written by a man named Sergei Zornono to the British Embassy. Zornono claimed he had been detained in London on July 18, 1963, and questioned by authorities. He stated that he had warned officials about Oswald's intentions to assassinate the U.S. president and alleged that he had relayed this warning to American Vice Consul Tom Blackshear. He also mentioned that Oswald had been attempting to defect to the Soviet Union at the time. While Trump's administration had been working on the document release since the president's return to the White House in January, the timeline accelerated dramatically on Monday. Trump had announced during an event at the Kennedy Center that the files would be made public the following day, catching national security officials off guard. In response, intelligence teams worked urgently to ensure that the disclosure would not compromise sensitive information. According to the New York Times, CIA Director John Ratcliffe wanted intelligence officials to be well prepared for any fallout from the release, prompting the National Security Council to hold emergency meetings to review redactions and potential security risks. Some officials feared that the documents might expose classified details about individuals who were still alive. However, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt dismissed concerns, asserting that the administration had been transparent about its intentions. She criticized those caught off guard, suggesting they had either ignored the president's statements or had deliberately chosen to remain uninformed. Despite the document dump, historians and researchers argue that the materials remain difficult to analyze. Larry J. Sabato, a political analyst and author of The Kennedy Half-Century, stated that his team had started reviewing the files but expected the process to take a significant amount of time. He emphasized that unraveling the significance of these documents would require patience and careful examination. Prior to this release, researchers estimated that 3,000 to 3,500 documents remained classified either in full or with redactions. Additionally, the FBI recently discovered approximately 2,400 new records related to Kennedy's assassination. Jefferson Morley, vice president of the Mary Farrell Foundation, a research organization dedicated to JFK-related files, expressed cautious optimism about the latest release. He noted that approximately one-third of the previously redacted documents had now been fully declassified, amounting to about 1,100 files out of 3,500. Morley also acknowledged progress in reducing excessive classification, stating that trivial information had been declassified. However, he expressed disappointment that two-thirds of the anticipated files were still withheld, including many of the newly discovered FBI documents. The National Archives clarified that the release was carried out in accordance with the President's directive, which aimed to declassify all records that had been withheld for security reasons. Some historians, including David J. Garrow, criticized the disorganized nature of the release. Garrow described the files as more challenging to navigate than previous document dumps due to a lack of annotations and clear references. He estimated it would take 2 full days just to open and skim the newly disclosed 80,000 pages. Similarly, John Greenewald Jr. of the Black Vault, a privately run repository of declassified government records, echoed complaints about the lack of structure and accessibility. The intense public interest in Kennedy's assassination has fueled decades of conspiracy theories, and the new release has only added to the speculation. While Trump had initially promised to release all remaining files during his first term, he ultimately withheld some, citing national security concerns. Although subsequent disclosures occurred during Biden's presidency, many documents remained classified until now. Sabato emphasized that his research team was particularly interested in previously redacted sections of sensitive documents. He speculated that some withheld information pertained to Cuba and the CIA's knowledge of Oswald's activities before the assassination. The newly released files contained heavily redacted notes, faded typewritten pages, and handwritten scribbles, making analysis even more difficult. Many researchers voiced frustration on social media, questioning why so many redactions remained despite prior assurances of full disclosure. Conservatives, including Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna, applauded Trump for keeping his promise. Luna, who spearheaded efforts to declassify JFK assassination records, stated that her team was investigating a CIA Inspector General report alleging that intelligence officials withheld information from Congress about their potential involvement. She claimed that they were actively tracking down additional documents related to the case. Former Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard also praised Trump for advancing transparency, though some social media users countered her claims by posting images of still redacted documents. In addition to the JFK files, the release included documents concerning the assassinations of his brother, Robert F. Kennedy, and civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr. Pulitzer Prize-winning author Jonathan Eig, who recently published a biography on King, stated that he would review the newly disclosed materials. However, he expressed skepticism that the files would reveal anything groundbreaking about King's 1968 murder by James Earl Ray. Leading up to the release, Trump teased that the information would be interesting and that Americans would be shocked by the revelations. He emphasized that the document dump was long overdue, remarking, "People have been waiting for decades for this. You have a lot of reading ahead." While Trump had pushed for full disclosure during his first term, thousands of files remained classified. His recent executive order in January paved the way for the final declassification effort. However, with many redactions still in place and key documents missing, the search for definitive answers about Kennedy's assassination continues. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and turn on the notification bell for more updates on celebrity deaths and news updates.